Hey, yo. How many people are here to see WCW? And how many of y'all are here to see DAD?
Woo!
And welcome to Day After Dynamite, your Thursday look back at all things that happened on Dynamite. Last night, we're here on Fightful Overbooked. I'm Will Washington, but I'm not alone here. I am actually joined by a man that I have known for quite some time. I've been hosting podcasts with this man off and on since like 2007. He is Felipe Diaz-Vera.
I say the name the same way all these years as well. Man, I'm not gonna lie, I'm excited to talk wrestling with you again. Especially this is my first time doing it in a sort of like a video setup. I didn't know what to do. I was just gonna film in my room. My room is a total mess, so I took over my living room and I'm like, I need something in the background other than my light. I just put like Stitch and Tails back here. It's just like something to put in the back.
Hey, that's perfectly fitting for you, by the way, because for those who don't know, Felipe Diaz-Vera is also the host, and he's been hosting it for like 10 years now. Almost 10 years.
Coming in October, yeah.
October, yeah. Has been the host of Generation Animation over at fanoff.com. And yeah, as a matter of fact, it's a big week for Generation Animation, is it not?
Yes, indeed. For those unaware, Generation Animation is a podcast dedicated to all things animated, movies, anime, TV, and even shorts and things like that. And it comes into play this week because this Sunday we'll be airing our annual Oscar special. We review every single film and short nominated in the animated category, so Best Animated Film and Best Animated Short Film. We also discuss the snubs, which I have a lot to talk about because there's 3 Disney movies in the Best Animated Feature category, which is BS. And so
what are the 3, by the way?
Raya, Encanto, Luca.
I mean, I guess those are all. I don't know. I guess
they're fine. Like, don't get me wrong. Encanto's great. As a gay guy, I love Luca. But Raya, over some of the stuff that got snubbed, I have a lot to say on, and I'm gonna save that for Generation Animation this coming Sunday. Fanoffmedia.com, or just generationanimation.com. That link still works.
Yeah,
and
fanoff.com works too. It all works.
It all works.
So,
yeah, like
and so check
about that website, Will.
I do know a lot about it. I mean, I hosted there for 16 years as well, so I definitely know that. But this here,
like 5
Fightful
with
Overbooked.
you. 5
yeah.
with you. Yeah.
I know, right? All between. Yeah. I mean, I knew you back in the Zone Radio days, and then
MV Zone, Zone Radio.
The MV Zone, yeah, and then that went into us hosting RBR together for years, and now I've got you here on Day After Dynamite. And if you want your messages read on Day After Dynamite, and you want to help support what we do at Fightful Overbooked, you can send us your super chats and your Humper Chats, humperchats.com. We get a bigger cut of that here at Fightful, so that's helpful. But if you want your messages brought up on the screen with the fancy graphics and all that, send us a super chat. And yeah, this is going to be good. This is going to be fun. So we're talking AEW Dynamite. This was a much anticipated episode for a number of reasons.
St. Patrick's Day Slam, specifically.
St. Patrick's Day Slam. So, first things first. St. Patrick's Day Slam took place live from Freeman Coliseum in San Antonio, Texas. Indeed. I'm familiar with this venue because I've been there. That was the home of NXT TakeOver San Antonio, which I went to Royal Rumble weekend in San Antonio, Texas. And that was the night that Bobby Roode beat Shinsuke Nakamura for the NXT Championship. So I know this venue. I knew this venue going into it. And I was prepared for a lot about this show, except for one thing. And I had all the questions. I know that nothing in pro wrestling is done for no reason. But I couldn't help but notice, I don't know if you noticed, immediately, as soon as the show started, and we get the entrances of Adam Cole and Red Dragon, that the ring is smaller.
I only noticed it because I follow you on Twitter, and you brought it up because of the cage match.
Yes. I mean, I put this shit out.
But it's something from a casual point of view you wouldn't really notice. I did notice a couple of people on Twitter saying, like, is it just me or is there more room outside? But it's something that from just me watching on Dynamite, like, honestly, until I just scrolled down my Twitter feed in between commercial breaks, didn't even cross my mind.
I mean, the part of why I notice is just because it's really like the way it takes up the screen. And something felt weird with the way it was aligned with the fans. And yeah, I couldn't help but notice that it was a 16 by 16 ring, which isn't abnormal. Impact uses a 16 by 16 ring. It's 16 by 16 rings are pretty much fairly normal outside of major televised pro wrestling. Like WWE uses 18 by 18. AEW traditionally uses 18 by 18. AEW has used 16 by 16 rings in the past. I can think of 2 occasions that they had, which was the Nightmare Factory tapings from April of 2020 and the Jericho Cruise. That show also had the smaller ring. So it's not a huge deal, but it was just jarring to see it, and I couldn't help but wonder what was up. Mainly because as I'm thinking to myself, they wouldn't do this for no reason. They just wouldn't. I cannot see a scenario where AEW was like, let's not use our normal ring. And I thought there had to be something, and all my brain kept thinking is, but what? Because there were questions being asked, like, oh, is this because of the is it the ring, perhaps? Or is it the cage? I thought, no, they're using the same cage. You can see it at the top, and that's an 18 by 18 cage. I don't think it's the cage. But I thought about that, and I thought, if the cage is surrounding it, though, then all of a sudden you have... are you reading the chat? Is that what the group was? I thought so.
Ancient memes. Sorry to distract.
I saw your face react to that, and I thought, okay.
But yeah, just in case you're wondering, yes, I am reading the chat. Anybody who wants to interact in the show.
Yes. Interact with the show. Thank you, JJ. Definitely ancient memes. And hey, I like... when people, especially JJ's great. Met JJ just last week in Orlando at the AEW Fan Fest right before the night before Revolution.
Yeah.
So and of course I've met JJ before that. We met him. I think we both met him in because you were there.
Yeah, I was at the WrestleMania meetup.
35. Yeah, 2019. And so. Anyway, let's
the reason
talk.
for the. Oh yeah, go ahead.
The reason for it
about the ring being smaller.
Yeah. So the reason for that ended up being that they needed to get out of the ring during the cage match. How do you do that without the
yeah. I thought they were trying to do like a not really Hell in a Cell thing. When the moment I saw them step outside, it's like, oh, they're just gonna ram each other into the walls and that kind of thing, which is exciting. I didn't realize once they like, oh, they're calling back to. Well, we'll talk about it specifically when we get to it. But, oh, they're calling back to the Lights Out match from a year ago, which they did a lot in this show.
Yeah, and so what they ended up doing was, if you lose a foot on each side, what they ended up doing was moving the ring to the one side of the cage, or I guess so it's touching 2 sides, and as a result, you now have 2 feet on 2 sides of the cage, and then the other 2 are touching it, and that's like just enough room to kind of give you exactly what you need. And then, so let's talk about some matches, and we will start with the opening match, which saw Hangman teaming up with Jurassic Express to take on Adam Cole and Red Dragon. What did you think of this?
So I'm not gonna lie, it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of crazy like planned spots they did throughout. The triple moonsaults in the corners was a great moment. The double doomsday device was great. Luchasaurus is so fun, and I feel like people kind of forget about him because everyone talks up Jungle Boy as like the highlight in the future. He's one of the pillars of AEW. But man, Luchasaurus is really good at doing what he does, and I don't know if it's just that maybe just being in a tag team with someone like Jungle Boy kind of hides his flaws, but like I just really enjoy whenever I get to see him in the ring do what he does, and he worked really well with Red Dragon and Cole in this.
I don't know. I said this on Twitter yesterday because there's a lot of people who just don't like the guy, right? But I genuinely feel like he connects. He is completely connected with the fans. I think he's got one of the best hot tags genuinely in the business.
Between his power moves, tail whips, nip ups, all the crazy shit he does, he's deserves it.
Yeah. I don't know. Obviously, he's not my favorite wrestler. Oh, shit. I just realized my tongue is, super red. I've been sorry. Look, guys, it's that season again, okay?
Oh, boy.
It's Starburst Jelly Bean season. Literally have a bag right here.
In case you're wondering what I'm enjoying at the moment, I got myself some Werther's Originals discounted from Publix.
Nice. No, though. But yeah, I was actually a fan of this. And I like the scenario that this is a trio in Adam Cole and Red Dragon that hasn't been beaten yet in AEW. As far as we're concerned, this is the best trio they've got.
One thing that did bother me is just that, Jungle Boy has eaten how many pins from Adam Cole at this point? It has to be at least 3, I think.
Yeah, because they had the singles match and then they also the tag matches.
And I feel like the moment that Adam Cole had Red Dragon, Adam Cole had Jungle Boy fixated in the middle, and they did the total elimination followed by lowering the boom. I'm yeah, it's over, it's done. And I'm yeah, because they're pinning Jungle Boy again. And I get that you can't pin the world champ in this. But I don't know.
And Luchasaurus is also a little bit harder to pin. Now, I feel like there was, to me, I don't really see a way out of this because I think on one end, I think giving Cole and Red Dragon the victory, to me, seems like it was designed to set the 3 of them up to challenge the others for the titles, to give, because I think we're just 4 weeks away from Battle of the Belts 2.
That's right. I keep thinking about Double or Nothing, and because that's what they've been mainly promoting.
Right.
And so I'm there is something between then.
Yes, Battle of the Belts 2 happens April 16th, I want to say. So literally a month is when that takes place, and that is happening Dallas, Texas. And I think they maybe want to give this one a world title match because the last one didn't have one.
I agree, mainly because I don't want to see Cole, it feels like they're already building to having Cole Hangman again because it's it's a fluke. I haven't lost any other. I don't want this feud to build to another pay-per-view. I feel like Battle of the Belts is a nice way to cap it off right then and there.
Yeah, and I think that's what it's going to be, is Battle of the Belts. And then we move on. But yeah, I mean, you put these 6 guys in a match, you know it's going to deliver. I am liking seeing Hangman perform more week to week because for a long time it just wasn't happening. He was having he had the couple of Bryan matches, or just this year he really only had the Bryan match and then Archer. And then
I feel like that also Bryan called him out on that to the build up to the Bryan match. I'm here every week. Where are you?
Right. And Hangman had said himself, he was like, I want more matches, give me more matches. And so far, we saw him have a match at we had the 6-man match on the go home to Revolution. Yeah. And then we had the match at Revolution. And then he faced Dante Martin the following Wednesday, and then this match. So, in a very short time, Hangman is back to being a weekly performer, which is what I've wanted to see out of him. And no complaints here.
This was a fun match. This is great. I was about to say I like all guys involved, but just for a personal standpoint, I just never liked Bobby Fish. Uh, Mainly because his name is Bobby Fish. I went to TPI 2006 in Midlothian, Illinois.
This is a
And
very Felipe. For those who don't know Felipe Diaz-Vera, by the way, this man, when you talk about like promotions AEW was built for, like it's definitely Felipe Diaz-Vera
oh,
because
there's
this
a
man,
moment later in the show that is like, this is specifically catered to me.
like this man taught me so much about indie promotions and indie wrestlers over the years that I feel like most of what I've known over the last uh, oh my God, 15 years I've known you, I picked up from you talking about certain independent wrestlers, and there's certain names that like once they finally popped up on a larger scene, I'm like, oh, I know this person. This is somebody that Felipe Diaz-Vera would talk about. And where it's like Johnny Gargano's name pop
Oh,
up, and I'm like,
it
oh,
became to a point of like, why are you so obsessed with Johnny Gargano whenever I would bring him up in RBR? Because he's good. He deserves
right,
a good time.
right. But the moment that Johnny Gargano starts popping up, where I finally see him, I'm like, oh, this is the guy that Felipe Diaz-Vera talked up. I know who Johnny Gargano is, and so it's been a blessing having Felipe in my life and having somebody who knew independent wrestling. But anyway, the point he's about to make about having seen Bobby Fish, or I guess not Bobby Fish, in Midlothian.
Yes, I saw him at TPI. Honestly, don't even remember who his opponent was, but I remember because TPI is like, if you know the Battle of Los Angeles PWG. Before that, the big taking independent wrestlers from all over the world and just making a big ass tournament thing was the Ted Petty Invitational in IWA Mid South. And I just remember being bored during Bobby Fish's match. And again, he's gotten a lot better since, but I just and my brain is still like, you're the boring fish man. I don't want to see you on my TV. And it's just a personal bias thing that I've never gotten over. There's sometimes you just have a person you just don't like just because you don't like them. And I have to sometimes admit, like, I have no real reason for hating Bobby Fish, but I just do.
Fair.
I hate the boring fish, man.
But either way, this match overall gets a really solid B for me. I think that didn't do anything particularly wrong. I actually did like, and I like that it was pointed out on Twitter that, look, the spot's been done a million times. I know Lucha House Party's done it before, but as far as the triple moonsault spot, I like that spot, especially between three guys who do moonsaults, but
Yes.
typically aren't
do it
in a ring.
as well. Because
Yeah,
Jungle Boy did it from the top. No, Jungle Boy did it from the second. Hangman did it from the top, and Luchasaurus just did it from the apron, which made
Right.
it didn't think it was going to be all three at the same time.
And what's cool about that spot to me is that all three of them do that individually. It's not like all of you are doing things that you don't normally do. That's a spot all of them do. And for them to have all done it together at the same time, but all in their normal ways, I thought that was really creative and really cool. Yeah, this is a solid B for me. What did you think?
I agree on B. Thing is, this is a lot of fun. I really enjoyed watching it. It's a great way to start the show. My only really drawbacks is like you see the finish coming from a mile away because of the fact that they're clearly building something up. Jungle Boy's going to be the one eating the pin because that's what he does when he faces Adam Cole apparently. But other than that, I had really no true issues with this.
Yeah, no, it was just fun. And there's no harm in that. Not everything's gonna be an A. This was solid.
There's nothing wrong with having fun in wrestling, guys.
And so, yeah, there was that. We had Keith Lee backstage, looking super sharp. That fade on Keith Lee, way better than mine at the moment. I have to call my barber here soon.
No comment, considering I'm finally growing my hair out again, so I'm the wrong person to talk to.
Yes. Nah, Keith Lee looked super sharp though, and they were basically continuing up the feud with Team Taz, and
Ricky Starks is so good.
Yes,
he clearly controlled the moment. Keith Lee, I'm curious about why they're because Keith Lee is good. He's fantastic in the ring. I love seeing him. I like the idea of him feuding with both Starks and Hobbs. But putting him against Ricky Starks on the mic week after week, it's like, Ricky's fantastic, but by contrast, just a one sentence like I'm gonna punch, I punched you in the face last week, see you next week promo from Keith Lee doesn't hit the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. It's I am curious to see what exactly the plan is for Keith Lee. Like I saw the vision that right off the bat, it's like, okay, we've got two big black men, Keith Lee, Powerhouse Hobbs, big meaty men slapping meat. We got to get there. We got to see that. How do we get there, and how do we get there quickly? And so that's what we moved into immediately.
While Hobbs is the obvious opponent everyone wants to see, it seems like this feud is more with Starks. So what, does Lee take the FTW title off of him?
It seems like we've transitioned Starks possibly over to somebody else that we'll talk about in a minute. Actually, we'll just talk about the segment now. Because later in the show, the Acclaimed are backstage. I was all smiles. I was all smiles through this segment. We had the Acclaimed and Max Caster called himself a No Limit Soldier. And
the Cleveland Junior line.
He said your Cleveland Junior looking ass was Anthony Bowen's shot at Keith Lee, which yeah, kinda. And then Ricky Starks and Will Hobbs walk in, and they tell him it's a big opportunity.
Stop all these new people coming in.
Yeah, stop all these new people coming in, taking our spotlights. And I thought about that, and I was like, yeah, all those guys kind of came in around the same time. Starks, Hobbs, and the Acclaimed were all 2020 hires that came in the pandemic era, in the early parts of it. And so they've been there quite a long time. It doesn't terribly feel like it, but they really have, all four of them. And then in walks Swerve, who
I was worried if doing that mid promo where the Who's House Swerve's House thing would just catch on, because it was it made sense to happen at the pay-per-view where every AEW fan in existence flies out for those. But in San Antonio where it's just an AEW TV taping, I was wondering if it was gonna catch. Luckily it did.
It did, yeah. And yeah, he said we turn it into Who's House? Crowd chants Swerve's House. He walks off. Anthony Bowen's just like, isn't that guy a rapper? And then really quickly, right as it cuts off, Ricky Starks says, Swish a House. And I laughed so hard at that. The fact that he dropped the Swish a House reference on television, and on top of that, said it so nonchalantly that segment was just genuine perfection to me. And that's where I feel like things are heading, where to counterbalance, so you got the two big men in Powerhouse Hobbs and Keith Lee, but then on the other end, now you've got two mic guys in Swerve and Ricky Starks, and I think that's where they're going with it.
Have teamed before. There's an infamous clip on YouTube from when they performed in OTT in Ireland, where Swerve snapped the neck of one of the wrestlers. You hear Keith Lee going, "Oh my God!" That's from them teaming together. So,
damn. Okay. Like I said, there's always something from Felipe Diaz-Vera. Just a wealth of information.
I am an obsessive with independent wrestling, and I do not apologize.
And so yeah, I like where that's heading. But in the meantime, speaking of liking where things are heading, and guys that got over that I weren't expecting to, we had Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson versus Chuck Taylor and Wheeler Yuta.
So before we talk about the Yuta stuff, because I feel like this is where most of this conversation is going, I remember I talked about there was one moment that I felt like specifically tailored to me about this match.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this.
Chuck Taylor gets a hot tag in the match. First thing he does when he isolates Bryan Danielson, single half crab, which he never does in AEW. The reason why he pulls that is because Bryan Danielson has tapped to Chuck Taylor's single half crab in Chikara's King of Trios in the late 2000s, where Team Fist of Chuck Taylor, Johnny Gargano, and Icarus beat Mike Quackenbush, Bryan Danielson, and Johnny Saint via a half Boston Crab. So the moment I got Bryan Danielson in the ring, half Boston Crab, he'll tap to this. It's like, oh, you're calling back to old ass Chikara. What the fuck, Chuck Taylor?
That rules. No, that's great though, because I
AEW
only
is
knew
such a wrestling nerd company, and like that kind of stuff doesn't matter to the average viewer. But the people that know, it's like, oh my god.
And you know what, though? There's this whole conversation about who wrestling companies should cater to. Should they cater to casual fans? Should they go for hardcore? Should they make references like that? I am of the belief, especially the last couple of days, that wrestling companies should cater to whoever is willing to spend money on it. And that's literally it. And obviously, AEW has an audience that's willing to spend money on it. And this was one of those things. Chuck Taylor tweeted about this, that he was going to go for that. So I only like halfway understood the reference because he had mentioned it beforehand. I didn't know about late 2000s Chikara. But somebody, when Chuck Taylor said, I'm going to try and beat him with a single leg Boston Crab, then somebody posted the picture of Bryan Danielson in that single leg crab. And I thought, okay. So I actually did get the reference, but only because Chuck Taylor mentioned it. He also
actually don't follow Chuck on Twitter. I don't know if I do. Maybe I just missed it, but I wasn't expecting it. So when I saw him go for it, it's like, oh, you cheeky fucker.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because he said when AEW posted this graphic, Chuck said that this looks like somebody's 4th year EWR game gone rogue. Because like nothing about this makes sense. Like if I showed this graphic specifically to you, Felipe Diaz-Vera, just like 5 years ago.
First of all, I would have no idea who Wheeler Yuta or Danhausen are. Secondly, what?
Like nothing about this makes any sense, but I mean, from just a number of places, like why is Regal not in WWE? Why is Bryan Danielson wrestling? Why is Bryan Danielson wrestling Chuck Taylor on television? What is Orange Cassidy? What the hell? Yeah, like so much of this is just like
when did Trent shave his head?
Yeah, so much of this is just like the last 2 years of wrestling, just like pounded in your head of wow, a lot's happened in the last couple of years.
One minor thing about this is just the best friends dynamic in general that I kind of have a minor complaint about. First of all, I love the best friends. I think as a faction, they're a lot of fun. Danhausen, I get that he's injured, so he's just kind of just appears, curse, leaves, and people love it. But I feel like his best is when he's on a mic. Put him on commentary, put him in a backstage segment. Everything he's done for AEW where actually talks is either on the pre-show streams or like for live crowds. And I feel like you've got Danhausen, who's really smart at using his comedy. And you hear people complain about like, oh, why is AEW hiring this just like weird guy that just points and like, because that's not what Danhausen does. And I want to give good faith, because that was also the problem with Orange Cassidy for the longest time. The draw about Orange Cassidy is what he does in the ring. And so it was like a year of just Cassidy just kind of hanging out, thumbs up, leave, before the Pac match happened and everyone went nuts.
It wasn't even a year. It was I mean, I guess from Dynamite till the first Revolution, so we're talking October to February. So it was 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, but I'm wondering if they're trying to do the same slow build. But the problem is they did that because it turns out Orange is fantastic in the ring and conveying stuff. Don't get me wrong, Danhausen's a good wrestler, but I feel like he excels in character, and even injured, you can use Danhausen as a character on TV. I can say that about a lot of people that aren't on TV, but I feel like specifically with Danhausen, because they feature him a lot as just that guy that hangs with best friends.
Yeah, I have no idea where they're heading with any of that. It's interesting that I feel like the idea here was to put, because one thing is Trent's injured, so there's that. And so I felt like the idea was putting Bryan and Moxley against an established team, but not putting them against the established portion of this team. So therefore, like, they got a victory over the best friends as a group. They didn't get a victory over the best friends that we know as the tag team.
Shout outs to
And
Regal on commentary, by the way.
yeah, Regal on commentary was a lot of fun. Uh, and shout out to Reg on Twitter, where he noted because Regal he sat on commentary and he gave thanks to JR because he was like, I gave the thanks last week to Tony Schiavone. I want to make sure I let you know how much you did for my career. And then he said, and to the masked gentleman,
you've done nothing for me.
Yeah, you've done nothing for me. And Reg was like, excuse me, you rated PWG for all of his talent. Like, no, he did plenty for you. But either way, so I thought that was a fun observation. PWG, another promotion I wouldn't have been familiar with if not for Felipe Diaz-Vera.
But of course, the star of this show was Wheeler Yuta.
Yeah, so that was what I was going to say. Was it felt like Wheeler was in this match to kind of be, to be the fall guy, simply because, it was like, hey, he's not the established member of Best Friends, so he can be here to be the fall guy. But the crowd really got behind him, throughout this match, to the point of where I was not expecting a Yuta chant at all, and for it to be as big as it was. And in a match with Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley at that.
It's the way that the match was set up, where like basically near the end of the match, Chuck Taylor took, I was about to call it a dirty deeds, took a paradigm shift to the outside, and so he was out for the rest of the match. So it's just Yuta versus these two scary ass wrestlers that you don't want to be alone against. But he kept going, and that's what people are like, yeah, you teach him, Yuta. Like, they were cheering for him, and like even when JR called out like, oh, that's more guts than brains, and Regal called him out, I was like, no, he has plenty of brains. Like he's fighting for everything he's got over here. Like throughout the match, even Regal kept pointing out like, oh, he's a tough one. Perfect technique on the German suplex. I do love also the fact that they didn't hold back. Moxley has wrestled Yuta. Like, this is also, I think, the third time they faced each other.
Third time, yeah.
So I like the fact that he was ready for that weird rebound clothesline that Yuta does. And also the fact that Danielson throwing a Regalplex in a match that Regal's commentating is a nice touch. I'm a little teeny bit. I mean, they reference everything on commentaries. I can't expect them to just hit 100% where they don't recognize a Regalplex. But like in my brain, like, oh, that's a Regalplex, nice.
Yeah, little references here and there, and it is surprising that nobody on commentary called that out. But yeah, so the post match.
Yuta also technically still isn't signed. He's still like one of those like shows up in AEW all the times, but he also works the independents type of wrestlers. So I'm wondering if this is like mentioned in the chat, if this is like a way to kind of bring him in more with the post match stuff that you're about to bring up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the post match, of course, saw Best Friends headed up the ramp, but Wheeler stops and he turns around and heads back into the ring, and the Best Friends all kind of stare him down like, what's going on here? And he gets back in the ring and extends his hand to Regal, and Regal slaps him in the face, but the crowd eats this shit up, and the crowd chanting even louder for Yuta in a way they weren't chanting before. Like, I don't know what the plan for Yuta was, but I know that if it wasn't to move forward with something more in this program, it probably is now.
Maybe because in the first confrontation vocal promo between Danielson and Moxley, Danielson mentioned wanting to tutor guys like Moriarty, like Garcia, like Yuta. Danielson has already faced Garcia and Moriarty. This was his first time with Yuta, and Yuta was the first one to come back and go like, "Hey, I want in."
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if this is tying back to that.
Yeah, and it was great, and I hope that there is more, and I hope then that Moriarty starts to look back and go, "Hey, I went in on this too." And Garcia, yeah, Garcia is preoccupied in a segment we're actually about to talk about. But yeah, this was, I would say, in bringing in the post match, like this match as a whole probably just would have gotten a C for me, just because it's a passable match. It wasn't really meant to do much of anything other than pop Felipe Diaz-Vera. But I would say the post match and Wheeler getting over the way he did, that moved this one up to a B for me.
Uh, I'm tempted to go A almost because this is a borderline star making. Like they're putting the wheels on the Yuta train, and I'm all for just referencing back to Independence. The stupid sexy Yuta I saw at Orange Cassidy's show in New Jersey turning into this guy is so exciting for me, and I love the fact that crowds are getting behind him. That he's so entertaining. I love the fact that he has such an odd look for your standard pro wrestler. The fact that he has the long tights with just the shoes, but he makes it work, and people love him. And I want Yuta to succeed, and I think this is a turning point where people are gonna start getting behind Yuta, and I am all in on Yuta being a more prominent feature on AEW television.
I am too. I like this. And then another thing I was not expecting to like. So here we have the Jericho Appreciation Society commencement, in which it was time to basically do what we did with the Inner Circle on the second episode of Dynamite, where the Inner Circle made their way down and Jericho cut the promo establishing who the Inner Circle is and why the Inner Circle is, and he dropped the line "stupid." He said that's a stupid catchphrase from Bad Creative. Yeah, from Bad Creative. And
wait, the 2.0 name has been around since, because they were the show in NXT, weren't they?
Oh, we totally know that the whole point of this was because they now have another Matt and Jeff, and these two can't be Matt and Jeff. And I think that's totally what this was all about.
Whenever I in my brain, it's like, oh, Jeff Stone, and I want to say Matt Parker, but like, isn't that the South Park guy?
Matt Stone and Trey Parker, yeah.
But I'm happy that the promo actually opened, reminding people, hey, even though Jericho's the mouthpiece of this group, 2.0 can deliver just fine on the mic themselves.
Yeah, and 2.0 did. Everybody got their chance to talk here, and the story came out a couple of weeks ago that Chris Jericho had filed the trademark on the name Sports Entertainer. So what was he going to do with that? We found out here. And Jericho cuts promo on his career. This is the latest. I'll tell you what I did like. And it actually goes back to the introduction. They come out to Judas, and the crowd is singing along with it. And they said, did you like that? You like that song? Well, there's one person you have to thank for that. One person you should be showing appreciation for that. Chris Jericho. And I thought, good way to bring that around. Especially if, like, starting next week, he gets a new theme.
Yeah, we don't hear Judas anymore. We don't hear Judas anymore. I didn't know what to expect from Daniel Garcia reacting to I'm not a wrestler, I'm a sports entertainer thing, because Daniel Garcia, who for the record won Bola this year, is like a wrestler's wrestler, and for him to go like, then I'm a sports entertainer too. It's like, oh, that
was such a heel move. And again, it is playing to it's knowing your audience, knowing what they're going to hate, knowing that, because like crowd was cheering Jericho through this and like cheering most of what he was saying until the sports entertainer line. And once he said that got the crowd. They were all of a sudden, and they were having jokes in the chat, by the way, about at some point, we should have done a triple threat match: Matt Jackson versus Matt Lee versus Matt Hardy. And shout out Rob Lee Johnson versus Lee Moriarty versus Keith Lee. Yeah.
And then still a Matt, so you can still have this match.
You still can. And also we can do Isaiah Cassidy versus Orange Cassidy should happen at some point too. But anyway,
we did get Adam Christian Cage versus Ethan Page on Rampage not that long ago.
We did, and we got Adam Cole versus Adam Page to main event a pay-per-view, and the crowd had so much fun with it because I was there. We all had fun with that. But yeah, so Jericho, he turns it around though. He gets the crowd to boo the sports entertainer stuff, and yeah, the reaction you see: Daniel Garcia grabs the mic and he seems like he's going to shut it down, but then he says, I'm a sports entertainer too. And the crowd is so mad. And
and Jericho explaining the story, which I know is when we meet to death when he mentions January 6th.
oh my God. When he said January 6th, I was like, oh, we just going here? Okay. I guess this is what we're doing here. And he explains the car crash that Daniel Garcia was in 2019 and how Jericho donated.
Yeah. And it turns out he was in the right to do it. First of all, I would say just for anybody out there, if you have a pro wrestler you like and they're going through some shit, they tend to post Kickstarters. I'm not asking like, oh, just donate your paycheck towards it, but trust me, from talking with a couple of these guys, though that stuff helps. When Jimmy Jacobs messed up his leg when the Age of the Fall stuff started happening, I bought an 8x10 from him, and he was very grateful for that shit. Like, wrestlers appreciate when you do that kind of thing, even if it's just $1. You know, that it shows that you're willing to. You see them as more than just like a T-shirt. Like, you know, you're showing care for them. So I know this is kind of a sidetrack, but it's just if you ever see those type of things happening, and like, hey, can you help me out with medical bills? Because independent wrestling doesn't make a lot of money unless you're like on the upper echelon of that kind of stuff. So I'm just saying, help those guys out.
And speaking of donating $1 or so, I got a super chat from Rob. It says, hi, the garlic bread. Here's the thing. I've been hosting with Felipe a long time. So there's references here that are going to make no sense to a lot of people. And that's probably one of them. That is a very old reference.
Can I say something that I wanted to get off my chest, and now that I'm no longer affiliated with the RBR, whoever the hell is running the Diaz Foods Twitter, at first I thought it was funny, but then when your first few tweets are like, buy my tacos, I'm like, I've never expressed any liking on tacos. Is that
it feels kind of racist.
Yeah. Yep. I'm just saying, you know, it's maybe nobody has tweeted from that Twitter account in forever, but when people search my name on Twitter, it's my account and then the Diaz Foods account. And so whoever still has that thing, please just get rid of it. It's an old joke. Just don't
I'm looking at that now. Diaz Foods. Yeah. Delete Diaz Foods. Although I did successfully get an account taken down that was a parody of me. And yeah, it eventually, and it was like old parody that was like old references and shit, and had like a really old picture of me, and it hadn't been posted from in like 7 years, and it was really easy to just report it, and it was gone. So that's one.
Okay.
And Ricardo says, "Hey yo, here's some love for Thunder Rosa." Shout out Thunder Rosa. We'll get there in a moment.
Some people were a little disappointed that there weren't a whole ton of Scott Hall references on Dynamite, but
yeah, it was honestly, really just there were two.
But I think that's more than enough. Especially because nobody, like, obviously the people that did had some connection with Hall, but like I feel like this group doesn't have like who made the tributes. I think was worthy because Scott Hall did work with Britt Baker in the past. Ethan Page is not on this show, and so he probably would have done one if he was on this week because his finisher is a freaking edge. But you know, I feel like they did what they needed to do to pay respect and then move on. And like, you know, that's all you can ask for. You know, I love Scott Hall too. I am a Latino from Miami, Florida. You think I didn't love Razor Ramon? Like,
all right, so on to the next thing. We had the TNT title on the line. Scorpio Sky taking on the former face of the Revolution, taking on the new face of the Revolution, Wardlow. And I know a lot of people. There were basically two camps on this one. One who knew exactly where this was going, and another who thought, oh, Scorpio Sky is going to be shortest reigning TNT champion. And
the fact that MJF didn't show up last week at all
should have been the tell.
Yeah.
And even still, like, I think it was probably easy to predict that Wardlow. I don't know. I never saw Wardlow versus MJF involving the TNT title in any way, shape, or form. MJF has never really expressed an interest in that title. MJF has always kind of expressed wanting to go for the world title, and it still seems like that's the belt he's talking about. And so I never saw this feud involving that belt in any way. I think I could see Wardlow eventually getting it, but not here. I also did point out yesterday on Twitter when Cody had tweeted about he wasn't happy that Wardlow won the Face of the Revolution match, but then lost his title match. And I pointed out of all of them, I believe AEW has done 5 casino battle royales. They've done 2 tag team battle royales. They've done 2 tag team casino royales, and they've done 2 Face of the Revolution ladder matches, and they've done 2 casino ladder matches. Between all of them, only one person has won their title match, and that was Hangman after winning the casino ladder match. But otherwise, all of those big contender matches they've done, and they've done a lot of them now, one person has gone on to win. It's actually more in line with what's taken place to see Wardlow not win.
Yeah, but even still, even if they don't win the title match, it's a good indicator of like who they're focusing on, because Scorpio Sky, to quote him, grabbed the Sonic ring last year, and he was undefeated for a long time, and he got his TNT title. Wardlow winning is not just necessarily the title match, which he lost, unfortunately. It's because he is the face of the Revolution. If it's not obvious, we're going to see a lot more Wardlow over the next few weeks, and I'm perfectly fine with that.
Yeah,
especially because we're probably not going to go straight to MJF, because it seems like they've been like seeding that we're going to get Spears first.
Oh yeah, he's got to slaughter Spears. I do appreciate you bringing up the Sonic ring, by the way, because as soon as you did that, I thought of either one of them grabbing it and then immediately getting hit with a
Someone did a Botchamania ending where Wardlow grabs the ring and this gets transported to the Sonic 1 special stage with
yeah, that's fucking great. That rules. Yeah, so this match in itself. This match saw Scorpio Sky make his way out to the ring with the... so Dan Lambert has the other TNT title. That part I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, because I was wondering if they were like... Scorpio Sky kept bringing up like, is it one belt I'm gonna carry, and so it's like, yeah. So what's gonna happen? Are they just gonna get rid of the intro? I was like, no, Dan Lambert's gonna wear it around now just to just shove it in your face a little bit more.
Right. I mean, because they did get a second belt made, but yeah. So Scorpio was carrying around the single belt, and but he did have American Top Team with him, including the newly signed Paige Van Zant. But Wardlow was going to take on all 5. And he mostly did. The match went through a commercial break. When we came back from break, it was Powerbomb Symphony time. And the crowd was buying every little bit of this. As soon as he hit the first one, crowd chanting one more time. He did the roll through, and when the roll through hits, this match is over. People thought Scorpio Sky was about to get squashed. But then... out comes Sean Spears. Yeah. Sean Spears with the distraction. They make their way out to the ring, and while the ref is distracted, MJF shoves Wardlow into the ring post. Wardlow makes his way back in, gets rolled up. 1, 2, 3. Scorpio Sky still the TNT champion. He retained.
Scorpio needs to keep it at least a little bit longer. You can't just like build up this title win, this undefeated streak. And the thing is, the person that beats him, I don't think Wardlow needs it. He doesn't at all. I think
Scorpio's reign, because Scorpio's fully capable of it, I would like to see him have a few banger title matches before we get to whatever the ending of his reign is going to be. I feel like he also needs to take the belt into the Forum in LA. For as long as AEW went without an LA show, all their LA performers need to be on that show. And he is one of them. if you have a show go by in the building that the Lakers made famous, and you don't have the biggest Lakers fan on your roster on that show, like at some point, I said he needs, like, I want to see the gold and purple belt. I feel like if Miro got one, I want to see, I would do a gold strap and then turn the champion banner purple, and that be Scorpio's belt as the Laker fan, and he brings that belt into the Forum in LA. But either way, I want to see him have a few banger matches. Like, off the top of my head, singing, who has Scorpio not faced yet? Because the thing is, it's been a while since Scorpio's had like a banger match. The most recent one I can think of is his TNT title match with Darby, which was, because like Men of the Year versus Darby and Sting, phenomenal match. But when I'm talking about like a banger wrestling match, that was Sting and Darby, and it was really good. That match is phenomenal. If you not Sting and Darby, Scorpio and Darby. If you haven't seen that match recently, it's really, really good still. And that's one I'd like to see again. I would also like to see Scorpio and Pac. That's another one that you can do. There's a few people on that roster where you can really throw out, like, who are baby faces right now who Scorpio could afford to beat. There's a few of them I'd like to see.
Yeah. Speaking of Death Triangle, Penta. Penta versus Scorpio might be fun.
Yeah. There's a few you could do. So whenever you can do them, those I would like to see done. But yeah, MJF makes his way in with the Dynamite Diamond Ring. He clocks Scorpio, or not Scorpio, he clocks Wardlow, and then Wardlow also takes the chair from Sean Spears.
MJF pays off Dan Lambert.
And he pays off Dan Lambert. And even though Dan Lambert should have been paying off MJF when you think about it, because Dan Lambert is the one who walks away saved here. The hell did they really do to they needed MJF in this situation. MJF did not need them.
I guess maybe it was just a bonus for like saving MJF's ass when he was alone with Wardlow. The pop when he went for the powerbomb on MJF before he got clocked in the back with a steel chair. Mm-hmm. Man, when it happens, it's gonna be nuts.
Oh yeah, people are absolutely going to want the MJF Powerbomb Symphony. They're going to love it, and just go for the full-on 10 at that point. Give him 10 power bombs.
And you should do it to Sean Spears, honestly. Just 10.
I think you're onto something.
Yeah.
I think you are onto that one. You're right. That it should absolutely be Sean Spears gets hit with 10 power bombs, and the crowd chants 10, 10, 10, 10. Oh, that rules. That's going to be amazing.
Oh, I'm excited for that match now.
It's going to be great. Let's check out some more on the super chat front. We got another one from Amir. Amir says, you think MJF will win the Casino Battle Royale at Double or Nothing this year? I don't know. Double or Nothing is so far off. You know, we're still 2.5 months away. A lot can change as far as Double or Nothing is concerned. I kind of think Double or Nothing's main event now is probably going to be CM Punk versus Hangman.
Yeah, Punk has been mysteriously off TV since winning the MJF feud, and I feel like he's gonna wait until Cole loses his rematch, and probably at the end of Battle of the Belts, you'll see Punk just kind of walk out and like, you and me, let's do this.
Time. And no matter what, like, there's a lot you can do there. As far as this match was concerned, I don't know, this was a C. Mainly because it wasn't the
crowd just wanted one specific thing and they didn't get it, but that's what it was built for.
Yeah. And I see some people are tuning in late, and you know what though? Makes me feel really old still when somebody says they were 12 listening to that old version of RBR.
Ow!
Because
ow!
No, that's okay though, because you're still like, I'm guessing Matt Rogers in the chat, who I'll bring that up on the screen, said Will Washington and FTV back together. 12-year-old RBR listener me is beaming. So what? I'm guessing you're now 22.
I'm assuming you listen to the show with parent.
Yes, because I believe the rules of that show are stated at the very beginning of every episode. So
Yeah.
there's that.
But this isn't RBR. This is Fightful, man. We're here to have a good time talking about some Dynamite here.
Yes. The day after.
Yes.
Okay, let me pull my results back up because they continue to build Sheeta versus Deeb. I don't know what they're building to. My heart wants the Iron Woman match. That's what I want. I feel like they've had 5 matches now. They're 2-2. There's only one way to finally, or they've had 4 matches so far. There's only one way to finally settle this at 2-2, and that is the. Okay, thank you.
No worries.
And the way to do that is Iron Woman match. That's what I want to see.
They have to. Sheeta and Deeb have been pulling absolute bangers against each other. I feel like...
I pointed out... sorry, I was saying, I pointed out earlier on Twitter that the tournament match from the TBS tournament, still a favorite of mine.
Yeah, I honestly believe that no matter how they decide to end this feud, Iron Woman sounds like a good idea. 2 out of 3 falls might be the simpler thing they go for. I honestly don't know what they're going to specifically do, but I feel like just the way that these two work together is fantastic, and I honestly feel like Sheeta has... No, I think Deeb, especially with the stuff she's been doing on Rampage, with the 5-minute challenges she's been doing, is fantastic. And the fact that she's getting the spotlight is worth it. But I feel like they're building towards Sheeta versus Cargill.
Maybe at some point. I don't know. I feel like Cargill's being built for somebody new who hasn't been seen yet, and there's a couple of people that I have. I
feel like that Cargill's going like, who's left? I've faced everybody, and I don't think Cargill's faced Sheeta.
Right. I don't know. I feel like, but that's why I feel like the who's left line is more so gonna bring in somebody new, and I can't help but wonder who that's going to be. I have my hunches. Like Athena comes to mind immediately. I know Toni Storm's contract isn't up yet, or her 90-day isn't up yet.
Yeah.
So she's another one. Mia Yim is up. There's a few options you can go with there. You can also go with Mercedes Martinez, who helped Jade win the belt, but all of a sudden now is a babyface, and she owes her one. There's a few places you can go.
It would be interesting if Deeb wins the feud, if she's the first one to go after Thunder Rosa.
Yeah, I could see that as well. Oh, that was a thing they built here. Because I do feel like the person who's probably going to beat Thunder Rosa, maybe a newly reinvented Chris Statlander, because we saw.
I was wondering, she took out the makeup and the lens. It's like,
it sounds
so
like she's
no
getting
longer going with the alien stuff.
Yeah, it sounds like she's getting repackaged. And that there's a little bit of frustration because they were showing her high-profile losses in this video package that she lost in the TBS tournament. She just recently lost to Layla Hirsch, and now and then of course she lost to Britt Baker, where like she keeps getting there but losing, and what's holding her back? And she wiped the makeup off and took the contacts out. Sounds like we're getting a new Chris, and she wasn't with Best Friends at all.
No, she didn't show up at ringside at all for the match.
So sounds like we're getting a new reinvented Chris Statlander.
Chat, no aliens in Chaos. If you know anything about Chaos in New Japan, it's like anybody that joins the group leaves immediately. See Wheeler Yuta, apparently. Like, it's just what they do.
And Rob said Red Velvet, full circle. I mean, something's about to happen with Red Velvet. Such as using her theme song in the mix, which is produced by me and something she had a promo that looked like it was in an old basement from the 70s, but she talked about her match coming up this Friday with legit Layla Hirsch, which means, ladies and gentlemen, this is potentially the first time that gets heard on television. It's been on it's been on Dark. It's been on Elevation. It has not been on TV yet, and I am ready to hear my song on TV.
DVR that shit, man.
Yeah, I mean, if I can, because it also is airing after the
NCAA tournament.
I know, right? So
on one hand, if it's like a hype basketball game, it's a pretty good lead-in for the show. Because March Madness, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir. People don't know. College basketball in March is nuts. And so there might be a lot of people watching. And then once it wraps, like, here's some pro wrestling. Maybe Layla versus Velvet is the opening match. And then that'll lead to a lot of people.
I'm pretty sure Darby versus Butcher is the opening match. But that's okay. That said, and yeah, Graham in the chat asking what happened to Shanna. Shanna she's one of the only people who's been released. I know that there was some kind of incident with her, and she had also had some pretty hard right-wing tweets, and so it was like, it's kind of problematic. She's gone. She is not in the company any longer, and that's pretty much that. But before we get
just let their contracts run out, as if you listen to Chavo Guerrero tweeting nonstop.
But the thing is, Chavo was never under contract. He was on a pay by appearance kind of deal. But so who knows? But
Who knows?
Before we get to the main event, we had one more match. We saw the in-ring debut of Matt and Jeff, the Hardys. Man, that picture really does look like it was taken like 15 years ago. Matt and Jeff took on Private Party. The first thing I want to say, I am so happy for Mark Quinn and Isaiah Cassidy. If you've ever heard them talk about their heroes, the reason that they became a tag team, it is Matt and Jeff Hardy. And then when you hear them talk about which version of Matt and Jeff Hardy, then it'll just make you feel old, because they were like, yeah, when I saw Matt and Jeff team up in 2007 and take on John Cena and Shawn Michaels for the tag titles, and they beat them, and I was like, that's like nostalgia run Hardys. But but for some people who started watching around that time, I get it.
A part of me kind of wishes, like, I feel like a part of me feels like there is a little bit of, like, they could have built this up a teeny bit more, maybe done Butcher and Blade first, and then bring in the history of the Private Party being Hardy fans. However, I have nothing wrong with them being the first match out and just going balls to the wall.
So I'm of two lines of thought on this. On one end, I thought, would I have wanted to see more of a build? Yes, but then I thought, but haven't I seen a whole lot of build, because the build was already there, and that with everything that's been going on that led to this. And then I also had the thought recently, we are in, and I said this on Grapsody, that we're in this time period right now where a lot of change is going to be happening in wrestling, because AEW is reaching 3 years, and a lot of those guys signed 3-year deals and could get snatched up elsewhere. And in thinking about that, we just watched Cody leave the company and is probably going to debut in WWE.
Big story about Janela not wanting to re-sign his contract.
Right. And so the thing about the reason I bring up Cody was because Cody was a guy who left a lot on the table, right? There, we sat around talking about, one of these days we're going to see Cody versus CM Punk. We're going to see Cody take on Hangman. We could revisit Cody and Omega because we haven't seen that since Ring of Honor. We could see, Cody versus MJF. Never really it got finished. They had their one match, but Cody even said in a promo that he wanted his hands on MJF again. And it felt like there was a lot left on the table with Cody that just never really happened. And now all of a sudden he's not in the company anymore. And that really changed my mindset of, do I want to see any company sit and wait on matches that could potentially never end up happening because people's contracts can expire, and all of a sudden this match that you sat and waited on all this time just never ends up happening. You believe we didn't get to see Cody versus CM Punk? Like, literally his last promo was about the pipe bomb, and Cody versus CM Punk didn't happen. Cody versus Bryan didn't happen. And there's
also the ever-present threat of injury in pro wrestling as well. So
yeah, there's so many things.
The more I'm thinking about it, the more I think you're right on this.
Yeah, I'm just like, you know what? If you have the ability to do a match and your fans, I've also said for a long time, this applies to Dynamite, Rampage, Raw, SmackDown, not so much NXT. There's no such thing as free television. Somebody's paying for it. People are in the audience paying for it. So when people say, oh, you gave this match away on free TV. No, you didn't. No such thing as free TV. Because somebody in that audience paid hundreds of dollars for those seats. So at that point, there is no giving a match away. Do it for your audience. Do it for this audience that paid for it. And in that sense, when I saw that this match was happening, I thought, what more do I need build-wise? I guess maybe some video packages, but for the most part, I saw what I'm going to see. And here we go. Hardys versus Private Party. Like I said, I felt so happy for Mark Quinn and Isaiah Cassidy because these two have been dreaming of facing the Hardys on television their whole careers. And it happened. And the Hardys, that music hit, gigantic pop. Tony Schiavone goes, I've never called a Hardy match. And I thought, holy shit. What the hell?
Yeah,
You've never called...
Hardys were only in one place the whole time while he was commentating, and then there was no weird nostalgia run in MLW or anything like that.
Yeah, it was like, I really am hearing like Twilight Zone shit because like hearing the Hardy Boys' most famous theme, Loaded, playing with Tony Schiavone calling it on TBS, none of this makes any sense. Like I said, if you described this to me just 5 years ago, I would think that the planet glitched and something has gone terribly wrong. The Matrix is way off and wrestling doesn't make any sense anymore. But no, the Hardys were here in full Hardys gimmick. They can't use the name Hardy Boys. That's okay.
That's fine. Hardys works more than enough well.
Yes, they're the Hardys. Which there was a period in WWE they weren't using Hardy Boys. And
yeah, because they were called the Hardys in a few times in their
I remember when they reunited in
I specifically remember Tony Chimmel calling them the Hardys.
Yeah, 06, 07 run, they weren't the Hardy Boys, they were the Hardys. And I always remember because like the Titantron looked really awkward because they like pulled up their old Hardy Boys Titantron, and then in like really weird text with like as many strokes as you could put over it to cover Hardy Boys, it just says the Hardys comes over the screen. And I'm like, okay, that was clearly a fix.
Yeah, Marcos, they're men, not boys now.
Yes. The Hardy Men!
I don't like that, no.
No, they're the Hardys.
They are men!
Although, shout out to Garrett Kidney, who pointed out on Twitter that Jeff Hardy is 5 years older currently than Michael Hayes was when he was managing the Hardys in '99. So, the holy shit. That blew my mind for two reasons. The main reason being, Michael Hayes was that young in '99. Because I was like, well, at first I was like, wow, the Hardys are up there in age. And I was like, not really. Jeff's like 44, right? And then I went, no, that means that Michael Hayes was only 39 managing the Hardys.
He didn't do any favors with the way he dressed.
Yes.
Like, he just like, hey kids, what's going on here? Was showing them matching clothes to them and that kind of thing. Just not a good look. But yeah, this match was a lot of fun. JR, I think at one point in the match is like, oh, how do the Hardy Boys prepare when their offense is so famous? But the thing is, that's kind of what made this match so fun. It's like, yeah, everyone knows what the Hardys do. They did Poetry in Motion. They did the double back elbow into the fist flip combo. Jeff did the whole like inverted atomic drop sweep. Name a city here. Leg drop to the abdomen. Like he did all. He did.
Oh, I loved him doing the famous split leg drop and Isaiah Cassidy screaming as Jeff's coming down. That was great because he always throws it in at least once a match. It's usually just once. But what spot was he going to throw it in with? The fact that he threw it in there was fucking hilarious. I enjoyed that. Wait. Okay, sorry. I'm stuck on the Michael Hayes thing again.
It's fine.
So you mean to tell me when he was Doc Hendricks, he was only like 34? He was my age doing that gimmick? What? Okay.
I don't know what to tell you.
That's. Sorry. My brain is just. He was younger than me doing that. I turned 35 this year.
Graham in the chat says PS had 50 years of drinking under his belt in 1999.
Yes.
might have been a reason.
Yeah. Joe Pearl said 34 going on 50. Yeah, like that. What? Okay.
Yeah.
Doc Hendricks was that young. Okay. That's that rules.
I do know. Getting back to the match, so I can try to distract you from all this PS Hayes talk going in your head right now. I know a lot of people were a little worried about the fact that Jeff kind of undershot that swanton a bit. It did look like he barely cleared it. But I don't think that's a sign of anything bad necessarily of him being in people are speculating like, oh, is Jeff in this mode now? Is he in TNA Victory road mode? No, he's not. He probably just undershot it because he hasn't wrestled in 9 days.
Actually, there's more of a story to that. Jeff's told this story before. This is just people not paying attention. He's been doing the swanton like that for like 3 years. And Jeff specifically told the story that the swanton, the way he used to do it, he would put the landing of it on his lower back, and that caused a lot of his lower back problems that he has now. So now he can't do that. And so what he does now is he puts because he said the brunt of the impact used to be on his lower back on the mat was where most of it would take place. And just years of doing that have worn his lower back out. So now he said he puts the majority of the impact on his opponent, and he talks with his opponent beforehand, make sure they're okay with taking the majority of the impact. And so now he is avoiding bumping his lower back on the mat and simply undershooting it in order to land more on his opponent. And his opponent is prepared for that. He's been doing the swanton for like that since like 2018. And he explained that in an interview that the reason is because he's trying to avoid landing on his lower back now. Because he has lower back problems now. That's been Jeff Hardy for a long time.
That's funny because like I've read the Hardy Boys book.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a great story about when they were shooting it was a video game commercial where I think it's the one where Kane hits like a home run and they're running, and then Matt and Jeff Hardy like leg drop just random baseball players through tables, and Matt Hardy would go like, okay, so to protect myself, I'm pretty much just going to be flying and sitting on you, be prepared for this, I'm sorry. Where Jeff is like, no, I'm going to actually leg drop him. And if you see in the commercial, he shoots backwards, lands on his head. That's not, it's not a good look on you. So it's funny how all these years, Jeff has finally started to be like, okay, I got to take care of myself, not just do what looks good. It's just funny considering like how Matt used to rag on him about that in the book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Book, by the way, for the record, if anyone wants to reach out for it, it goes right up until where V1 just started.
Right. So we got another super chat. This one is from Kai. It says, I had $10 on Rosa losing via a tweet to Joe Pearl. How long does the reign last and who dethrones her? I'm hoping Britt gets it back, but I could see Toni Storm coming in hot and picking up a W. I don't know if you're noticing, but like a lot of, especially on the world title, like, and when I say world title, that refers to 3 titles: the tag title, women's title, and the AEW world title. Thinking about the world titles in AEW, they've been really good about rewarding their longtime performers. Like Thunder Rosa, she's been signed with the company officially for just a year, but she's been with the company basically since
the NWA stuff.
Since August of 2020. She was pretty much backstage at every event, didn't go anywhere. She's been with the company since 2020. And then we think about Britt and Cheetah and Nyla Rose, Riho. You think about the world title. Everybody who's held the world title has been there since the beginning. AEW hasn't really done the bring somebody in and crown them champion thing. And I honestly don't think they will. I think there definitely is kind of this like reward those who have been there a while.
Like the only one that was kind of win the title was kind of Moxley, and even then, like there was a long.
And to be fair, Moxley's been there since day one. Like he wasn't there at the original press conference, but the very first AEW show had John Moxley on it. Yeah, so
like when Ruby Soho came in, she didn't win the title right off the bat from coming in. No.
They've given shots to people day one, but people haven't really won day one stuff, and I feel like AEW is really trying to make sure that people feel rewarded for their time. Like Jurassic Express is the tag team champions, a day one team.
Ty Conti was on pay-per-view this week. She's been with the company for like giving them like great dark matches for like 2 years now. Mm-hmm. And so they reward her with these pay-per-view outings that just like people are like, yeah, Ty Conti.
And so that said, who do I think dethrones her? I think it is going to be Chris Statlander. I think it'll be the repackaged Chris, somebody who's been there almost since the beginning. How long does she hold it? I don't know.
Do you think with this heel turn and this build to Layla Hirsch that they might be teasing at maybe not
a title match, but not a title? I don't think so.
Yeah.
But anyway, Hardy's in Private Party. That one gets a B for me simply because I was happy for Private Party to get there. And
agreed on this end as well.
Yeah, I was just happy for him. And it was cool. Hardy's got the crazy thing was Jeff's hot tag. Still a great hot tag. Those guys fully understand.
Everyone was anticipating it, especially because it came off a great move with Private Party about to do the poetry in motion, just side effect in midair, great stuff. And immediately, like everyone in the crowd knows it, the commentary knows it. Like JR's like, this is going to be the hottest tag of the night, and Shivani's like excited for it. Like,
the crowd.
God bless Tony Schiavone. Like he is like, it feels like he's like the heart of AEW right now. How excited he gets over this shit.
I love Tony Schiavone. I think Tony Schiavone, like what he brings to the table to me is like almost the lapsed fan view of like somebody who's been so detached from all of this for so long that like, I've never seen the Hardy Boys, even though they're a 25-year-old act. I've never seen these guys. This is great. And like just the way he gets like excited for this stuff. And like, you know, Excalibur brings the technical expertise, and then JR brings the long-term expertise to things. I like them as a team. But I really feel Tony Schiavone, like when I hear him get just like excited about silly shit, it's great. I love it. But the thing we are here to talk about, Felipe Diaz-Vera, is the main event.
Yes.
As Mark Henry would say, it's time for the main event. We had the AEW Women's World Championship. Man, that's a beautiful title. The Women's World title on the line inside a steel cage. Again, we talked earlier in the show about the smaller ring that came into play here.
Yes.
The Thunder Rosa with an incredible mariachi entrance all
Oh
female
God.
entrants.
Um, so the fact that it's all female mariachi is actually very interesting because uh, I live in South Florida, very Latin centric. I myself am not Mexican. I'm infamously half
Cuban
Cuban,
Chilean.
half Chilean. Yes, but there's a wide melting pot of Latin America down here: Ecuador, Nicaragua, and Mexico. And so I have seen my fair share, especially because there's a taco place not far from where I work, of mariachi. I've never seen, I didn't even know there were female mariachi. Again, that's probably just because like it's not my culture personally. I've just been adjacent to just. I've seen mariachi. I've met mariachi. I've never seen a female mariachi. Like, oh, that's cool as hell. It's all because I don't know if you know the hardest part of being a mariachi is whoever is playing the big ass bass guitar. They're plucking and they have to hold upright while saying like doon doon doon. It's like you gotta have some power to hold and play that thing.
Yeah, no, I thought it was really cool. I thought it was a really cool way to introduce Thunder Rosa into her adopted hometown, and then her music hits, crowd goes nuts. She makes her way down. She's in full paint.
Full face paint, yeah. I don't
Full
think she's
face
ever
paint.
done that in AEW.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, props to AEW's production people. I know I saw some people slightly annoyed with it where she posted the pictures of her with the title and everybody's like, hey, these pictures were taken before the match because your face paint isn't affected. You didn't have, but you know what? That not even the first time AEW's done that. And also like WWE's done that as well. Because the time that sticks out to me was when after Finn Balor won the Universal title, he's shown celebrating. He's got pictures of him in full on demon paint that had to have been taken before the match because the demon paint was all worn off by the end of the match. Yeah. And he's got the belt with him. And it's like, okay, this is very clearly taken before the match. Same with the Bucks, the Young Bucks. There was a graphic of them that was very obviously taken with the tag titles before they won the tag titles.
I just think from a kayfabe point of view, like they just before every title match is like, here, you got a chance just in case. Here's your picture. And it's just like, yeah, there's like somewhere there's a picture of Warhorse with a TNT title.
They did a bit, yeah. They did a bit on BTE with that where they were having everybody take pictures with the belts and like Brandon Cutler like grabs the world title and he's like, okay. And like everybody laughs at him. I'm like, because it's like there's not a chance you're ever gonna become world champion.
Get Brandon Cutler on the LA show. Did you watch the dark match with the Young Bucks and Brandon Cutler versus Dark Order?
I did. That was
silly.
Hilarious.
It is
yeah.
silly.
But yeah, and then out comes Britt Baker. They hadn't even updated her Tron. It still had the old belt in it.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, what's the point at this stage? Because
look, it's obvious, but sometimes there's nothing wrong with doing the obvious. If you just subvert the obvious, just say like, "Ha, you thought we were doing this, we're doing that." You're just doing it just to be contrarian.
Yeah, and in this case, that wasn't the case. They went out there, and this match was a lot of callbacks to the original match. Or not the original match, the third or the second match. I forgot they faced each other 4 times.
Look, I get that the reason why this steel cage match happened was because of all the interference that happened at Revolution, but it feels weird that they kind of almost ignored the Revolution match completely. Mm-hmm. Just to build up like, yeah, a year ago this happened and now they're finally going to get each other again and it might be at the same level. I feel like they just wrestled each other like 2 weeks
ago. I thought there should have been more reference to the fact that Britt wasn't going to have the help. And like they started the match out, Britt starting to climb the cage, and JR notes, there's no escape in AEW cage matches. And that it's all pinfall or submission. But yeah, as soon as they get out of the ring and grab the chairs, I thought, okay, that's the exact reason why they had a smaller ring, because there would have been no way to get any of that into the ring without
The callbacks to the Lights Out match, especially when Thunder Rosa first went for the powerbomb, because it's one of the famous spots where Rosa powerbombs Britt into the tax, and when the first time she goes for it, she immediately gets back body dropped into the tax. It's like, yeah, it was great. I do feel like this match isn't as good as the Lights Out match from last year.
I didn't think so either.
That is by no means an insult to this match. I think this match was fun. I think this match was great. What the fuck, Britt, with that Lego set of chairs you decided to fall onto? Just like...
Yeah, I know, because I feel like the anticipation for it, what ended up actually happening was, I don't know, kind of tame for this anticipation of stacking all these chairs, and the crowd was like, "Ooh, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen?" It's like, that happened. And I've seen people making fun of the stunner spot where
it was 316.
Yeah, and I think it was supposed to be two things. It was supposed to be a tribute to 316 and also to Scott Hall, because the way that
she jumped
Britt,
back when she took the stunner.
Yeah, jumped backwards and taking it, I think was supposed to be the tribute to Scott Hall. But yeah, otherwise I thought it was really fun. I was really into it. I enjoyed all of the callbacks to the Lights Out match, and I enjoyed Aubrey getting a moment here, because we saw Paul Turner get super kicked out of the ring.
The super kick wasn't the bad. It was him getting thrown out of the ring and bouncing off the cage.
And then that brought in Aubrey. So then all of a sudden, it's all women here. This is truly their moment. Poor Aubrey, by the way, though. Did you see the picture she posted?
Yeah, she did the count in the tax. No sold it too. I was like, she's counting in the tax, isn't she?
Yeah, I thought that as it was happening. I was like, oh my God, what are you doing? And then she posted the picture of the, pro tip, don't actually count the 3 in the tax. But at the same time, you got to just go with it. You can't stop. And
I actually thought that would have been a great spot if she started counting and then she got her hands taxed. Like, ow! But maybe not for that specific count, but just in general.
But we saw kind of a spot we've been asking for. No one's done it yet, and we finally got a payoff. But Britt goes for lockjaw, and Thunder Rosa bites her fingers.
The old mankind adage, why don't I just bite your fingers?
Yeah, why don't I just bite your fingers? Like, once it's locked, I can understand you don't have control of your jaw any longer. But before she locks it in, biting her fingers, perfect. But Thunder Rosa wins.
I loved when she had to switch hands because of that, and then Thunder Rosa just starts smacking her hand against the thumbtacks.
Mm-hmm.
There's some really clever stuff happening in here, and I appreciated this match a lot because of that.
Yeah, I did as well.
Hot crowd didn't hurt either.
Very hot crowd. This crowd was here for Thunder Rosa. There were some DMD chants in there, though. And it wasn't as loud as the Thunder Rosa ones, but some people were there for DMD. But at the end of the day, Thunder Rosa got the victory. 1, 2, 3. And is your new AEW Women's World Champion. She got a big confetti celebration. Crowd was way into it. They got
Thunder
their
Rosa
moment.
Went on record that she wanted her title win whenever it may be to kind of call back to Eddie Guerrero's title win at No Way Out.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like, say what you will about what led to it, I felt like just her overcome with emotion, her hometown confetti flying. It's a great image.
Yeah, I actually, and it's funny Phantom's bringing this up because it's true, but Phantom noted in the chat that Thunder Rosa is the first Mexican-born women's champion ever in a major American company. Yeah, I had to look that up to be certain, but I was like, has there really never been a Mexican-born champion? And I went through the Raw Women's title, which was very easy because there haven't been that many, and the SmackDown Women's title, which was very easy because there haven't been that many, and a Divas title. I went through the women's title. I went through the Knockouts title. And I realized, yeah, the only other one is, like, if you want to count Thunder Rosa holding the NWA, but the NWA women's title is not on television. So, therefore, as far as
a major... count Lucha Underground, maybe?
No, I'm not. I'm going to say...
Even then, women that there wasn't a women's title. The only person that hold the title was tag titles. Eva Lise, Like, I think that's the only one.
Yeah. Well, either way,
Yeah.
Thunder Rosa. That is a really big milestone. And this is a really big moment. She is the women's world champion. There is a whole new dynamic all of a sudden because, Britt was champion for nearly a year. She won
Yeah.
it at last year's Double or Nothing. I'm actually glad she didn't cross Hikaru Shida's record. So Hikaru Shida continues to be the longest reigning AEW champion. Period.
This,
No
this
one's.
this can lead to a lot of interesting title matches too, because Britt has mostly been taking on the good guys at AEW. And
And
so
there's a
now,
lot you can do with Thunder Rosa here of
yeah,
getting heels a
you have
chance.
Nyla, you got Layla, you have Emi Sakura. Like, you can have some fun stuff for her
I
title reign.
thought about Emi Sakura. That was one where I was like, you know what? I kind of would like to see that. She's been over on Dark, racking up wins. Bring her back to TV. That's one I'd like to see. There's a few, so I'm all in on this.
Yeah, and also they can always do face versus face. I'd like to actually see Rosa versus Ruby.
Had that thought as well. And so there's a lot you can do with this. I'm just happy that Thunder Rosa is champion. The title changes happen so infrequently. Although in 2022 we've had 4 title changes thus far, and all of them took place on TV. None of them have taken. Oh wait. Of
Hangman.
the So wait. I'm wrong. They've crowned multiple champions on TV. The first Dynamite of 2022 crowned the TBS champion. And then we had the TNT title switch. First with Sammy winning it from Cody. We had also on that first Dynamite the tag titles changed hands. Also, Sammy lost the TNT title, Scorpio Sky, and then we just saw the women's title. All of that took place on Dynamite. There have been 5 title changes this year.
Yeah. I say there's nothing wrong with it, because it's not like we're not getting these big. Because again, like, I feel like when they do the title matches on pay per view, they're also super great. So, like, again, just Hangman versus Kenny, that happened on pay per view. If I'm not mistaken, didn't Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy win on pay per view?
No, they won on. No, that was Dynamite. But what I was gonna say is, harkening back to 2020, I'm pretty sure in 2020 every single title that AEW has changed hands on at least one Dynamite, including the world title where Kenny won at Winter is Coming. So this isn't new for them. They've changed the title plenty on TV. But I've got a couple more super chats to read. Kai says, respect to the performers. The match was incredible. I'm a fan of violence and Crimson Masks, and they deliver on that end stupendously. Ricardo says, oh, sorry.
No, well, you read that and I'll get back to that.
Yeah, it says, I love seeing these shout-outs to different cultures in AEW. Way different than the dreck of WWE's treatment of foreign talent. Kudos. I'm just happy. And I'm happy to see it.
They just let the wrestlers be wrestlers, and whenever they get a chance to shout out their culture, it's fun. But back to the point about the Crimson Mask, because I feel like if Britt would have gone as hard with the blading as she did during the first match, I think that actually would have gotten her more over. Because it's kind of what happened, is that basically her bleeding like crazy and just like just smiling at the camera, giving the finger. That started like the Britt Baker is awesome stuff. And I feel like if she would have gone as hard in this one, it may have stolen the spotlight a bit from Thunder Rosa. So I'm glad she kind of pulled it back a little bit and didn't go as hard in the red as she did last time.
Yes. Well, as we always do here on Day After Dynamite, we're going to turn to my dear friend, Brandon Thurston. And Brandon Thurston, of course, reports the AEW ratings. So they are out. And this episode of AEW Dynamite did a whopping 993,000, with one particular quarter doing really poorly. What quarter was that? Really?
Oh boy.
something had to have happened here. This makes no sense to me, especially if you look at YouTube views. But if you look at the chart, and we'll see how that clears, you see that one big dip right there, right? That one big dip.
Yeah.
That's Hardy's and Private Party. Which, of course, brings the whole average down. That's pretty much the only quarter that wasn't up near 1 million. That one dipped to 911, but I'm curious what happened with that particular quarter that...
The only thing I can think of isn't March Madness starting today, not yesterday?
Right. I have no idea what could have caused that particular quarter to dip as badly as it did when you consider that if you take a look at the YouTube numbers on anything the Hardys have been doing. Last week it was like what the Jeff Hardy thing did 2 million. I'm looking that up now on YouTube. That one's up 2.4 million. The match itself will probably from last night is going to cross 1 million on YouTube. So I am really curious what happened to that quarter.
It's interesting that the shift between what people watch on YouTube versus what people watch on TV. Because I know there is a bit difference sometimes with the AEW numbers, that certain segments that do really well on YouTube tend to blow up. Like, anything dealing with the Hardys right now did good. Anything Hook related blows up on YouTube. Like, I'm wondering if it's just a weird, just because it does bad on TV doesn't mean it did bad type of situation.
No. But like I said, I'm like really curious about that.
Reinventing Your Exit on the chat said basketball had the top 4 spots. AEW's next highest thing demo-wise. So there was basketball last night. So there's probably either playing games or maybe some really good professional games that happened yesterday. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Either way, it's a rating. And like, it's not even all that remarkable. It's that quarter is just particularly remarkable because otherwise it all looks pretty normal, and that quarter just feels like a significant drop. But yeah, as Phantom pointed out, it's a huge increase over last year. That's AEW Dynamite for another week. This has been Day After Dynamite. Felipe, let people know where they can catch you again.
If you go to the wonderful website that is fanoff.com, I host a show called Generation Animation, which is a show dedicated to all things animation. We talk about cartoons, anime, movies, shorts, anything in between. We've done episodes on Flash cartoons from the olden days of the internet. This coming Sunday, you'll be able to hear our annual Oscar special, where we discuss the nominated films for Best Animated Feature and Best Animated Short, as well as the snubs. I'm not going to rant again. It'll be a fun time. Definitely check it out if you're interested in anything animation. Also, if you want Twitter takes on everything from wrestling to fighting games to just general me nerding out about Sonic the Hedgehog shit, you can follow me at Felipe Diaz-Vera on Twitter, all one word.
All right, Felipe. And also, Generation Animation, that's a really cool name for a podcast. Who named that show for you?
Is this guy that we used to call our executive producer. His middle name started with an R.
Oh, that's right. I named that show. Yeah. I don't know. That's like one of my prouder achievements of naming podcasts.
When people ask me about my podcast, and I bring up names like, "Ooh, that sounds fun," so it definitely is a catchy help.
The two names
also,
of naming
it's good to have on merch for the record. Also.
Yeah. Honestly, thinking about podcasts I've named, the two that I'm most proud of are Generation Animation and Grapsody. And so that's
we're just rocking merch. It's just like
yes.
B-Rob did the same thing in his episodes. That's why I'm like, screw it, I'm wearing merch.
Yes. Those are the faves, though. But, hey, Felipe Diaz-Vera, always a pleasure to podcast with you. I always want to make sure I get to do that at least a couple times a year.
Of course.
Did it a couple times last year. And
whenever you ring the call, like much like Michael Jackson to Jackson 5, I'll be there.
Yes. All right,
I don't
Felipe.
know why I pulled that reference out.
I know why that one. It doesn't matter. But, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here for another edition of Day After Dynamite. For Felipe Diaz-Vera, I'm Will Washington. We'll see you next time. Have a great evening. Peace.